Hey, before I start the video, I just want to say a big thanks to Piznuser N for this comment. He recommended that I check out the Spellbook structure deck, so that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Before I really begin, I'm going to be going over each of the individual cards in the deck, mainly the super and ultra rare cards, and then I'm going to be doing a budget and then an expensive build, so be sure to check that out. So I like to start off with the extra deck, mainly because the extra deck usually has cards that can be used in other decks. And it looks like we got 2 Synchros and 2 XYZs and 1 Link. The 2 Synchros, they're okay. They're too slow in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! The better one is going to be Fortune Lady Every, just because it can come back if it dies. The 2 XYZs are not that good. I'm a little surprised they're such high rarity because they're not that good. I mean, when they were originally released, they're probably really good, but in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! They're just way too slow. I wouldn't even play any of the Synchros or XYZs. But the Link is good. It just requires 2 spellcaster monsters, which means that you can actually use it in other decks. And when it's Link summoned, you can reveal 3 spellbook cards, add 1 of them to your hand, and then you can just normal summon a level 5 or higher spellcaster monster without tributing. It's really amazing. The best part is the card that it can add to your hand, they're pretty good. So let's look at the monsters now. We have a bunch of normal and rare stuff. I'm not going to really go over it just because it's really easy to craft and it's not really that important. The really important stuff is the ultra and super rare stuff, like Magician of Prophecy, aka Blue Boy. The best monster in the deck. It allows you to add any spellbook spell from your deck to your hand. Very good. We got a unique one. It's called Umbrella. I can't pronounce the first part, but it's you normal summon it and you can discard a card and you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard, although its effects are negated, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck unless they're synchro. It's really strange why it's in here. It's not that good. It doesn't have great synergy with the deck. The best thing you can use this card is you special summon a monster like Sangan or Witch or any monster that when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a card. Besides that, not that good. I wouldn't run it. It's cool that it's in here, but I don't know why it's in here. Moving on, we have another monster, a more higher level monster, High Priestess of Prophecy. Now, this card is supposed to be one of the boss monsters. The only thing is, it's too slow in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, back then when it was released, it was really good. Now it's just like, oh, destroy a card on the field? Okay, who cares? Like, it doesn't do anything. I wouldn't recommend running it just because it's too slow. But the spells are good. They're good even in today's standard. Spellbook of Secrets, literally add any spellbook card from your deck to your hand. Bro, that's broken. It's so good. Couple that with the fact that we got another card called Spellbook of Masters, where it's target a spellbook card in your graveyard, copy its effects. You can even copy the first card, Spellbook of Secrets. Like, it's good. It's just really, really good. Moving on, we have Spellbook of Knowledge. Also really good card. It's interesting. It's a more recent spellbook card. You can send 1 spellcaster or 1 spell or trap from your face up on your field or in your hand to the graveyard, draw 2. It grants you a lot of consistency, it gets you more cards, it's a genuinely good card. And then we follow that up with a weird pick for Masterduel to put in, Wonder Wand. I don't know why this is in here. Yeah, you can equip it to a spellcaster monster and then send it to the graveyard, draw 2, which is cool, but it's not searchable, it's kind of slow. I mean, this is a good reprint if you like Exodia, because this is a great card in Exodia deck. But in Spellbook, it's not good. I don't know why it's here. This is a weird pick. This could have been anything else. Moving on, we have Spellbook of Life. Essentially, it's like a searchable Monster Reborn. You can just banish a spellcaster in your graveyard, special summon 1 from your graveyard, and then increase or decrease its level or something like that. It's okay. It's an okay card. Moving on, we have a removal Spellbook card, which is like banish up to 3 Spellbook cards in your graveyard, and then you can apply any of these effects. The first one is just return a set spell or trap to the hand. Second one is like Book of Moon, switch a monster face down. The third one is the best one. Banish 1 card your opponent controls. Dude, it doesn't target. So your opponent, if he wants to respond to this card, he has to respond right away. And then it's like he doesn't know what's going to get banished. So it adds a lot of pressure on the opponent, which is, I think, a really good thing. And then the best card probably ever to be printed in the Spellbook deck, Spellbook of Judgment. You can only run 1 copy. I'm going to read its effect because it's good. During the end phase of the turn this card was activated, add a spellbook card from your deck to your hand. up to the number of spellbook cards activated, and then special summon one spellcaster monster from the deck. Dude, that is good. So essentially, you play all your spell cards, and then you use all your resources, right? You do all your things, and then this card's like, oh, yeah, normally you would have nothing left. Yeah, nah, psych. Get every single one of the cards you added back to your hand, and then you get a free monster. That's like, bro, like, what? That's insane. This is a good card. Very, very good card. The reason this deck's going to be good is because of this one card. Moving on, we have a weird pick. Transmigration Prophecy. Yeah, it's an okay card. Target 2 cards in a graveyard, shuffle those in the deck. Like, okay, but why? Why is it in here? This could have been anything else. Why is this here? It's strange. Same with this. Shapeshifter or Shapesister. Dude, it's a level 2 tuner. Why is this here, bro? There could have been better cards they could have added. They added 4 cards: Wonder Wand, Umbrella, and these 2 traps. Like, they could have been anything else. I'm literally just complaining. But the structure deck is good. It has all the spellbook cards you need, which is really good, but it could have did more. So I'm a little disappointed. I'd rank it like a 6 out of 10. While the previous structure deck, the Dragon Maid one, was like an easy 9 out of 10. That was like went above and beyond. But yeah, let's go into a budget build, and then I'll go into a more expensive build. So here's a structure deck, and boom. This is the budget variant. We bumped up Blue Boy to 3. We crafted, and we only crafted 1 super rare or ultra rare card, and that is Jowgen. I probably pronounced it wrong. Essentially, this card is neither player can special summon monsters. That's really good. It stops your opponent from doing things. And then we're running an interesting card. Since it's a budget variant, we're not allowed to craft too many cards because you might not be able to craft too many cards, and I want you to be able to play the game. So just as a prophecy comes in a structure deck, essentially if you use a spellbook card during the end phase, you can banish this card, add 1 spell, and 1 monster from your deck to your hand. That's a spellcaster. Moving on, we have 1 copy of Ash Blossom, and I want to address this right away. If you want to build this deck budget, buy the bundles. If you already have all of the bundles that Masterduel has to offer, you're good. The bundles include cards like Solemn Judgment, Infinite Impermanence, Forbidden Droplets, Ash Blossom, Lightning Storm, and they're going to include more stuff in the future. These are really powerful cards you should have in your collection because you can throw them into almost any deck and it instantly makes them better. Ash Blossom is one of those. We're running High Priestess of Prophecy simply because it is searchable with Justice, and also, although it's not the best card in the world, we're probably just going to be discarding it to draw, or we can just summon it as a body if we need to. We have Raigeki and Monster Reborn. You get these for free in the story missions. I think it's like the 1st and 2nd mission. If you don't own these, you probably should. They're good cards. Following that up, we bumped up Spellbook of Secrets to 3 because it's like the 2nd best card in the entire deck. We have 1 copy of Power just because we want that option in our deck. 2 copies of Eternity. It allows us to shuffle some of our banished cards, which is useful and good in my opinion. We have 3 copy of Masters because Masters can copy any of our spellbooks in our graveyard, which is going to be really, really useful in keeping up with our searches and all that jazz. 3 Spellbook of Knowledge, simply because we want to be able to draw and consistently get to our Spellbook of Judgment, the best card in the entire deck. We want that, so this is going to help us get there. 1 Lightning Storm because it can be used to destroy all of our opponent's spell or traps or attack position monsters, and it might help us like clear their board so we can set up our own board to protect ourselves. This is a unique one. It's called Performapal Popperup. It essentially has the effect where you send 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, you draw 3 cards. The downside is you take 1,000 damage for every card in your hand. You're going to be taking like at least like 5,000, 6,000 damage. You might not want to run this if you don't like taking damage. I'm willing to take the damage. Next up, we have only 1 copy of Life. It's the searchable Monster Reborn card. We have 1 copy of the Field Spell just because it allows us to recycle, and it's also an easy activatable spell card, so Judgment can get another counter to add another spellbook card. 2 Spellbook Call. This card essentially is the more spells you activate, the stronger your monsters get by 100 attack points. It's good. I like it. We want to be able to boost our guys up a lot. And this deck does a lot of searching and using spell cards and recycling them and using them again and yada yada. This is a unique one. It's called Magician's Right Hand. It essentially has the effect where if your opponent activates a spell card, as long as you control a spellcaster, You can negate their spell card every turn, once per turn. Next up, we got Spellbook of Wisdom. It can protect your spellcasters from trap or spell effects. We're running 2 because it can easily just be activated to not really benefit, but just to get a counter on Judgment, and Judgment's the most important card in the deck. And then we have 3 Spellbook of Fate, simply because we want to be able to banish our opponent's card, disrupt them, and do whatever we can to make sure our opponent is not playing the game. Because if our opponent pops off and they summon 5 monsters, we're going to be screwed, so we got to stop them. And then Spellbook of Judgment, only run 1 copy. You know, I don't want to talk too much about it. I already talked a lot about it. It's amazing. Really, really good. Forbidden Droplets can like kind of negate our opponent's monsters, and also if they make a really big board, we can kind of break it and then come back. Infinite Imperm is kind of like a hand trap. We can just use it negating our opponent's monster. And then Solemn Judgment, usually I don't run this card, but in this deck it's especially good, simply because our life points don't really matter. As soon as we set up our unbreakable board, Judgment just makes our unbreakable board like godly, and they're never going to touch it. Now, I got a little lazy with the extra deck, I'm not going to lie, simply because we're not really going into our extra deck. You can run a bunch of links and powerful stuff. Those are super and ultra rare. I'll show them in the more expensive variant, but I didn't want to craft those. I didn't really want to like make you guys craft those. So I'm just going to be talking about the ones that is the most important, which is Crowley. Crowley's the best card that you can have in the extra deck, simply because it like does so much for the deck. Let's jump into the more expensive variant, and you'll see what I changed and what's new. This is the expensive variant. There are a lot of changes. We have a lot of changes to the extra deck, and I'll be going over it. And then we have a lot of changes and new additions to the main deck. Starting off with Magician's Souls, this card grants consistency. You can send up to 2 spell or traps from your hand or field to the graveyard, draw that many cards. You can also special summon it, and then you can like easily go into like a Link 1, Link 2. So it gives you a bunch of plays. We keep the Blue Boy and the Jowgen count the same. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom now because we want to stop our opponent. We have a unique card, Nail Shadal Aerial. When it's sent to the graveyard, we can banish up to 3 cards in our opponent's graveyard, so it stops our opponent from like using resources in their own graveyard. And we can banish from our own graveyard too if we want to do like some wacky shenanigans, like add the card that we banish, which we can easily do. We're running 3 Dogmatica Aslasia. This card is good, like genuinely really good. We could special summon it from our hand if our opponent controls a special summoned monster. It adds as a card when it's summoned. The cards it adds are not bad. It can add a card called Dogmatica Maximus, which it can also be sent with Magician's Soul. This card sends 2 cards from both our and our opponent's extra deck to the graveyard, and we take advantage of cards getting sent to our extra deck to the graveyard. Then we run 3 Nibiru because I don't want our opponent to like set up a big board and we just can't stop it. Like Nibiru is just like, nah, like you're done. We have 3 Spellbook of Secrets still. We have 1 copy of Power. We cut down Eternity down to 1 because the deck's getting more tighter. We cut down Masters to 2 because the deck's getting more tighter. We kept Knowledge at 3 because we still want that consistency. The other cards don't really grant consistency. They allow you to like expand your plays, but Knowledge is more like, oh damn, like my hand's bad? Well, reload my hand, you know? I love that. We have 1 Nadir Servant. You can only run 1. It allows us to search out our Dogmatica cards, and then we send a card from our extra deck to the graveyard, which gets our plays going even more. We keep the Spellbook of Life just because it's good to have a searchable Monster Reborn. The Tower, I do like it. You don't need to run this, but I do like it. Same with the Star Hall. You don't need to run this, but I like it. I like these 2 cards. I want to keep them in. If you want to change them out, you can take them out for like Maxi or something. Go ahead, go wild. We have 1 Wisdom just because I want to keep it in the deck. You don't need to run it. There's a lot of cards you don't need to run, but I'm keeping it in just because I want it in. 2 Spellbook of Fate. We cut this down from 3 to 2 because although it is really, really powerful to disrupt, honestly, you can keep this card at 1 if you really, really need a space for like Maxis or whatever you want to put in. But I'm going to keep it at 2 because if I activate 1, I want to be able to add 1 to my hand after I use the next best card, Judgment. Because Judgment's always going to be at 1. It's this main star of this deck. We added 2 Called by the Grave just to stop our opponent's Ash Blossoms or anything they do when we try to search and get our plays going. We're going to say, nah, you're done. And then we have 1 searchable copy of Dogmatica Punishment. It sends a card from our extra deck to the graveyard. We can destroy an opponent's monster, and it gets our plays going. And a good card, Shadal Schism. It allows us to fusion summon Shadal monsters by banishing materials from our graveyard or the field. Then if our opponent controls like a light or dark monster, we can just send it to the graveyard after we fusion summon. Our extra deck, I'm going to be going over Elder Entity Nestus. The only reason this is here is because when it's sent to the graveyard, we can pop a card. Should all window, we can fusion summon it. So that's why it's here. It stops our opponent from special summoning. Like, they can only special summon once. Gianchi is just way better. They can't special summon at all. But Winda's kind of the same. Also has protection from destruction effects, so it's pretty good. Epic alone can negate a face-up card's effect. Also, when it's sent to the graveyard, we can add a Shadal card directly from our deck. And then we got to send one card from our hand to the graveyard. It's really easy to get access to all the Shadal cards that we want. And then one construct just because it's a really good boss monster. And if we summon it, we're going to be in a good position. This card, Titan, this card, Ash Dragon, is only here because when it's sent to the graveyard, we can special summon a Dogmatica card directly from our deck. We can even special summon a Sleazia, which gets us a Search at the Trap. Omega is in the extra deck because when it's sent to the graveyard, we can shuffle a card in our graveyard or our opponent's graveyard back into the deck. And then we can like keep recycling and keep doing things. It's good. It's a good disrupt if our opponent needs their own graveyard and they're like targeting a card in a graveyard. Nah. Omega shuffle it back into the extra deck. Their effect fizzles. It doesn't go off. We run Link Karibo, Secure Gardna, Relinquished, and Artemis because they're Link 1s and they're really easy to make with Magician Souls if we want to go that route. They get us access to lights and darks so that we can easily make Shadal Construct, or we can easily make Winda. And I mean, some of their effects are good, like Karibo kind of protects you from attack. Relinquish can suck up a monster if our opponent like plays into the zone it points to. Selene's especially good in this deck because we're going to be able to special summon a spellcaster from our hand or graveyard in defense position to whatever zone this points to. And we're going to have a lot of spells in our graveyard to get this counters going up, up, up. Besides that, probably one of the best cards in the entire game. Access Code Talker, really powerful Link. I don't really want to talk about it too much. It's an amazing card. Ends games. So yeah, those are the deck profiles. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. I want to say again, if you have any questions, feel free to comment them. I check all the comments and I'll be sure to reply. Anyways, I'll catch you later. Peace. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe. You can check out all the new content I'm going to be making. But besides that, hope you have a great day. See ya.